I just feel like that's what she wants. That's definitely, she wishes.
Yeah, she wishes you were like
quintessential Latina chicken novella with super long hair, just giant boob job, and the super tight dresses.
And you have 3 kids. That's all you focus on is the kids and her.
Maybe I have a nursing degree, like, you know, like
nursing degree. You have a son, Jaden.
Right.
That's what she was hoping for. Welcome everyone to Need I Say More episode 27. I am one of your hosts, Giuseppe, and for the first time, Terrance is not with me. Instead, please welcome the beautiful and talented Jerii.
Hello.
Jerry's back, actually. This is your second visit. I think you were here on episode 10?
It is, yes.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Terrance died hit by a bus. So, Jerii, how's life?
Is that what happened?
No. Terrance is knee deep in school right now. He has a very, very important test today, so he could not join us.
Shout out to Terrance for getting his education on.
Yes, he for the past week, what did he call it? A study chamber, I believe he called it. He's like, I got to go in a study chamber. So I think he's basically outside of eating and work, he's just studying.
Study chamber. That sounds like a chastity belt of education,
or like a rock band or something.
True.
Wow. Do you want to have study in your rock band? Probably not.
Study chamber.
Yeah. How's everything going? You're in LA, of course.
I am. Yeah. There's a time difference. I'm in LA. The sun is still out where I'm at. It is really, really hot out here.
Oh God, it's been so disgusting lately. Today was 92. Yeah, it's been a bad summer. It's been a weird up and down. We're we'll have a few days of 90 and then a few days of 80, and then it just keeps on doing that, but it still sucks.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of rain over there.
Yeah. We had a lot of lightning this summer. A lot, lightning to where my blinds are closed, but I still see the shocks of it coming in. It's Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, it is currently 91 degrees out here. It's usually about at this time of day.
Is it so you've obviously lived in New York, you lived in Miami, and now you're living in LA. Is the 91 there the same? Because it's dry heat, is it not?
It is dry heat. There is zero humidity, and it's pretty rough. It definitely, you feel the desert on you, especially I'm right in the valley, so it hits really, really hard out here. It gets really, really hot.
I mean, it doesn't sound much better than here.
No, it doesn't. Except, the mornings and the evenings are a bit cooler.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's kind of just humid the entire 24-hour span on the East Coast.
Yeah.
You know what sucks? There's a lot of easier ways to stay cool in dry heat. I don't know, do you ever see those those towels that you wet and you snap them, you put them over your neck and they can keep you cool?
No. Wait,
really?
you mean those cooling towels?
Yeah. So those work much better in dry heat. They kind of work here, but not really. But if you're where you are, it would apparently work really well.
No.
So, same thing with I think I talked on the show. There's something called swamp heaters or something. Swamp coolers. Where basically, I don't know how it works. It does something with the moisture in the air where it can you can put this thing out and it can make an entire area, a warehouse, something much cooler. But again, it doesn't work in humidity. It's just,
oh wow. Sounds amazing, though.
It sounds cool.
Look that up. It sounds really cool.
I think it's a swamp cooler or some. There's different names for it, but that's one of them. And I don't really. It's something to do with zapping parts of the air, and I don't really understand it. But I've never been in. I've only been in dry heat a couple of times, so I've never experienced one.
Man, I would love to try that out in my room because there's no air conditioner in my room. We just kind of leave the door open. And then I try to leave fan wind to come from the air conditioner in the living room to blow it into the room.
Yeah, I've done stuff like that before too. Any way to stay cool. You know what's funny? When I used to have a normal life and it was the pandemic, let's say I was going to the train. There's a Duane Reade right next to the train station where I live. I would literally, I'd be boiling hot by the time I got to the train. I would go downstairs. If I saw the train was more than 5 minutes away, I'd go upstairs into Duane Reade and I would put a timer on my phone and I would wait until it was like 2 minutes, then I go back downstairs. That's how much
Oh
I just,
wow, really?
yeah. Or I would, there were different paths like on my way to work where if I could like cut through a store or there was one where I used to work at the Gap on 34th. There was a mini mall that I would walk down halfway down the street, go through the mini mall just so I could get the AC for like
Yeah.
30 seconds
Yeah.
and then across the street. It's crazy.
I mean, it's true. It is, and the train stations are really, really bad. They're like you feel like you're going to suffocate very soon. Like
Because you
the train
basically
doesn't come
are.
within 30 seconds,
Yeah,
and you basically are.
Because for those of you who haven't been in like New York City or like an underground subway, it's imagine being above ground and it's 90 degrees, but then when you go below, you have no wind, no nothing. So it's just like at least 10 degrees warmer.
Yeah, and then all the people fill it up with their hot air coming out of their mouths.
Breath and shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
People
Did you ever miss the train at waiting at Duane Reade?
No.
Wow, that's amazing. See, I would have missed it. That would have been my luck.
I mean, it's like I said, I put a timer on my phone and always like give it an extra. Like let's say it's at 7 minutes, I'll make sure I do like 4-ish and then go down because sometimes it's a bit off.
Yeah, it's a bit off sometimes. That's not too bad. Yeah, I'll wait at the top of the stairs, try to breathe as much outside air as I can before I see the train coming.
Before you submerge yourself into the hell that is the subway. You know what's crazy though? There was a time where the subway, like the actual subways themselves, were not air conditioned. Could you imagine going down and then getting on a train that's also not air conditioned?
I mean, that happens sometimes on the one train in summer, so I can't imagine.
Do you stay on those trains?
Absolutely. It depends. If it's like a few stops, I have suffered through it before.
Never.
But they're pretty horrifying. Yeah.
I cannot. If I ever am waiting and it's like a regular time of the day and there's people and then one cart is completely empty, I don't even get on. I just go to the next fucking cart. Because then something's wrong. It's true.
Once you see that it's empty, you're like, oh, it either smells like shit or the AC isn't working. Either way, I'm not down.
There's two options. One, a homeless person stunk it up. Two, the AC doesn't work. And neither of those is what I want to be on.
Neither of those are fun. So yeah, when you see the empty one, it's like, and then there's like 2 packed cars surrounding it. You're like, there's a reason that's empty. Okay.
Yep. I remember one time I was on the train and there's like really unkempt looking homeless person was like laying down and it was like warm out and so like the guy looked kind of sweaty and it was like ooh, and at one point he got up and got off, but everyone on the train was like, I'm not sitting in no seats, like we all know we're not sitting in those seats. And then like as a couple people got on, like they noticed like people were standing but there were just a few seats open and they all kind of like stared and looked, and one of this guy looked at his friend and he was like, what does it say when you get on a crowded train and no one's sitting in those seats? I just started laughing and I was like, you don't want to sit on those seats, bro.
Pretty much. That's exactly what it says. You don't want it. It's for your own good.
But anyway, Jerii, we always start the show off with our Black Excellence shout out of the week. Now, even though Terrance is not here, we're going to still do it because you can't stop Black Excellence. It's unending. Doesn't stop. It doesn't matter if it's hot. Doesn't matter if it's a homeless person in the way. Doesn't matter if Terrance is not here. It goes on.
It is unstoppable. That is correct.
That's exactly right.
I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm black.
So our Black Excellence shout out of the week is one Mahershala Ali.
Nice. I love Mahershala Ali.
I also love him. He's a guy that was really cutting his teeth for like years, and no one really paid much attention to him until he finally was in Moonlight. And then won an Oscar, obviously, but then suddenly everyone knows who this guy is. Moonlight, by the way, is a fucking masterpiece.
Moonlight was it was poetry, is what it was. It was a very poetic piece of film. I really, really enjoyed it.
I gotta rewatch. I've watched it at least like 2 or 3 times, but I think I gotta rewatch it because I really fucking love that film.
I really enjoyed it, and having lived a little bit of life in Florida, you don't get exposed to like the rough schools and neighborhoods of like urban, like South Miami. And it definitely showed that. And I was like really impressed by how accurate they had caught it too. It took me back a little bit. Yeah. So it was beautiful. And it had like little to no dialogue, but like Mahershala Ali's, like every single word he said was super like impactful, super meaningful, filled with character. It was amazing. He's great to watch.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. There's not a lot of dialogue. Like, there is dialogue, obviously, but there's a lot of just not dialogue in the film, just like nice, really good camera work and little bits and stuff. It was
Yeah, that's what makes me feel like it's not like a movie, so to speak. It's like it's literally like an artistic piece of film. It's like a poetic film. It's one of those that have like just like a lot more to say than just like what the people are like saying, what the actors are saying out of their mouths. There was like lighting, there was the perspective of like the camera when the little boy was like looking down the hallway at his mother that was messed up. I thought that was a really dope shot too.
Yeah,
all of it. Yeah,
that's a genuinely good way to describe it.
Yeah.
He won an Oscar for that role, right? Best Supporting Actor. And then just 2 years later, he goes into Green Book and wins a second Oscar. Just out of nowhere. This dude has been cutting his teeth for years. He's in his early 40s, and out of nowhere, 2 Oscars in a 2-year period.
Yeah.
You love to see
he's
it.
Like he's 47 now. It's definitely one of those stories where you
Steve
like
Carell
grinding and then it comes out of nowhere. Steve Carell as well.
He was like 43 when The Office and 40-Year-Old Virgin came out, like.
Yeah.
Sometimes, Jerii, it pays to keep plugging away, even if you seem like you're getting no success, as we talked about before the show started.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely been an actor that's kind of been in the minor leagues for a really, really long time, and I'm ready to level on up to the major leagues. And I think I'm starting to lay down some blocks to make that happen. But it is definitely a long game, that's for sure. Once you get kicked down the first 58 times, you're like, oh, I must like to do this because this is a long effort kind of a thing.
Right.
And you do see that when you see people like Steve Carell and Mahershala Ali and Regina King like coming out with all of her new directorial debuts.
Yeah, it is weird. Sometimes like it just takes time. Like he'd been kind of plugging away for a bit and just not really doing like he was doing stuff, but nothing really relevant. It wasn't until he was in like the Hunger Games, which I didn't see those Mockingjay.
He was in the Hunger Games?
Apparently he's Boggs. Isn't Boggs the nerd who gets like killed in? Oh wait, no. Who's Boggs? I don't actually know. I've read the books and I only saw like the first movie. I don't think I saw the other ones.
Well, he was. I know that there was Lenny Kravitz in the movie.
Lenny Kravitz was Cinna, right? Isn't that the name?
There you go. Mm-hmm.
Which is, to be fair, he was quite good in that role. Actually,
he was fantastic. I thought it was perfect.
Yeah, he was a good casting in that role. But anyway, he made a bunch of stuff.
He was Boggs. You're right.
Who do I know who Boggs is? Is Boggs not one of the President Coin's right hand? I don't even remember who. It's been a while.
Yeah. No, you're right. He was in the first. He was part 1 of the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
And he was also in Daredevil.
The original?
Right?
The show.
No,
the show. Was he?
Wait, was it? Was it the Harlem one?
Oh, I think he's in Luke Cage. He was in Luke Cage. Yeah. Which I never got around to watching, and then they canceled like all the Marvel ones, and I was like, well, I don't know if I even want to watch it. It just like brought me down.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun one, and he was like a villain in it, so he was pretty good, and still like marvelous to watch.
That's a good name, Cottonmouth.
Cottonmouth. There you go. That's like who he was.
He's in House of Cards. He's a ton of stuff he's done. Green Book. I loved Green Book. I know some people thought it was a bit formulaic, which I can understand.
I actually didn't see it.
It's very good. It is like it doesn't really do anything you haven't seen in a lot of ways. Like it's a 2 mismatched people kind of go on this crazy road trip, but it's just him and Viggo Mortensen are just so good, and the film is it's just a well-made film. It's not original, but it's very good.
Yeah. Well, as they say, you can't reinvent the wheel, but you can make your own version of it.
I love that film. I really want to rewatch it. Also, did you see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
I didn't. I heard it was really great.
That film is so fucking good. It's like I remember seeing it in theaters because I see every movie in theaters and being like, hopefully this is good, blah blah. It is just such a good film, and he does the voice of his uncle, the main character.
Really?
Miles Morales.
Miles Morales.
Yeah. It's just definitely watch it. They're making a sequel. Very good film. And also, I don't know if you heard about this. So you remember the movie Blade back in the day with Wesley Snipes? They're remaking it. And guess who's playing Blade?
No.
Yes.
Oh my God, that's perfect.
Ali. I know. What a big get for the MCU to get like Mahershala Ali. Like
that is huge. That is perfect casting. I literally can't think of anyone better to do it other than other than Wesley Snipes himself again.
He comes back. He still looks the same. So fuck it, right?
The
Just bring him back.
yeah, like the '90s Wesley Snipes.
Exactly.
The only other perfect casting.
By the way, you probably don't know this necessarily, but Wesley Snipes and Jay-Z come up on the show more than any other people on the planet. So the fact that we've somehow gotten back to Wesley Snipes is phenomenal.
That's hilarious.
The movie is supposed to be like an R-rated film, which is cool. And they just announced the director. Cool. I don't remember who it was, but yeah, they just announced that recently. So shout out to you, Mahershala Ali, for being an awesome Muslim Black individual and just killing Hollywood, really, just doing whatever you want to do.
Absolutely. So I hope to work with you soon, buddy.
Oh my God. Could you imagine if you were in Blade as like, I don't know, is there a female? There's like a female main character in those films, right? There,
there's females in there. There's some vampire lady killer. Yeah.
You would be a great vampire, to be fair. Like that is like the role you were born to play.
That's what I'm here for.
Jerii the vampire.
Yeah.
But all right, Jerii, let's get to the show proper.
Let's do it.
So, actually, side note, something I was talking to Terrance about. I don't know how it is in LA. People are just like, the masks have gone the way of the dodo. People are just like, it's fine. We don't really need to do this anymore. The pandemic's over. Have you been noticing this out there?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, as soon as the mask mandate was dropped, it was
like, we won.
They were nowhere. They were absolutely nowhere. I walked into somewhere with a mask on and people looked at me like I was stupid. They're like, you don't need that anymore, right?
Yo, listen, that just happened the other day. We had like a tenants meeting thing and there was only like 5 people, but I was the only one with a mask. And I was like, I feel like peer pressure. Like even though they looked at me, I was like, I feel like the weirdo. And I'm like, I'm vaccinated, so I guess it's not a big deal. But I was like, this is weird. Like I went to a pizza place the other day, both people working there, no masks. I was like, what do I do? Like, is this just why are we just accepting this? Yeah.
It was weird. Definitely everyone. And then California brought the mandate back because people dropped it so sharply and they were like, hey, you guys have to wear masks indoors. So we're back to wearing masks indoors.
At least there's that. Because listen, cases have been going up a lot in the last week or so. And
that's pretty much why. That's why they brought it back.
But of course it's going to happen. Like we only have I think it's like 60% of adults and only like less than 50% of the country is vaccinated. So it's like, that's not really that much, like we can't really just drop the masks.
And then there's the Delta variant.
Yeah, which is just apparently it's wreaking havoc. Like it's
apparently it's like even worse.
They said like 80% of the people who've gotten it in America like are getting it from the Delta variant right now. So good news all around.
That's scary. Really. Yeah. So the world continues to burn.
Sometimes I can't even look at news because it's just negative. Everything is negative. Like, doesn't matter what I look. It's like, condo collapse near Miami and the coronavirus is getting worse. And
oh my God, all these condo collapse.
All these states are passing anti-voting laws. And I'm like, oh my God. I just
rolling back anti-LGBT laws.
Yeah, I'm like, I just need to stare at a wall. I'll just stare at my wall because that's the best news of the day. The wall is still the same color it was yesterday. Good news. Like, fuck.
Right? At least you have your wall. I try to tune into the news like once every now and then, and then I do it through like comedy talk, late night talk shows. That's how I ingest it because I need some kind of like a sarcastic banter. You
need like a way to break into. Yeah, you're like, I need something to break this news to me properly.
That's how I like to digest it. I like Stephen Colbert to sarcastically tell me that the world is still burning because it very much still is. So yeah.
Oh yeah. We haven't moved past that. All right. Here's our first main topic. Do you consider yourself a confident individual? Where's your level of confidence? Would you give yourself?
I would consider myself, I would say like an 8.5 at confidence.
That's pretty good. That's pretty high.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty high.
I think I guess I'd give myself a similar, maybe like an 8, a flat 8. So the question, where does your confidence come from? Confidence is good everywhere in life, right? Whether it's like dating or job interviews, just meeting people, it's always good to be confident about things. But where does that come from for you? Do you just look in the mirror and you're like, fuck yes, and that's all you needed? Or is there
absolutely not.
Nope.
Funny. That is not where it happens. That's where it starts battling me back. When
that's when the confidence.
You're like, who are you kidding?
Sometimes I'll
kidding yourself.
I'll go to whip up my camera on my phone to take a picture and it's reversed. And I'm like, oh no. And then phone's got to go away. I got to start crying. It's a bad scene.
You know what? I shouldn't have opened that.
Stupid fucking camera.
No, I think it's just, it's always come from for me, it comes from, I think, this explorative, like wandering nature that I've always had as a kid. So like my brain is like, there's like an ignorance to my confidence because I'm so deep in my head about just like discovering the world. Like I was the kid that wanted to get lost. Like I wouldn't cry if I didn't find my mother. Like I would run away, like just to explore things. Go chase a stupid butterfly, be lost in the grocery store. Let's check out the ice cream aisle. Like I never minded just kind of wandering, and that kind of followed me throughout life. So I just like, while people think I'm like standing up and being super confident, I'm really just getting to know, like, I'm just kind of like speculating, I'm observing, I'm looking at things, and I just happen to look confident doing it because I'm so busy trying to figure out what's going on around me.
You're so focused.
I'm not that worried.
You're so focused on like absorbing your surroundings that people are like, she's a confident young woman.
It just seems like I have it together. And it's just like, no, I'm not worried about what I look like right now because I'm trying to remember how to play Sudoku on the wall. Like, it's just...
You're like, how do those numbers go together?
I don't know.
That makes sense though. You know, like and that also probably helps, right? If you're always curious and you're always like exploring and just, that's what you're doing. Like you almost have to be like confident because like if you were too meek, you wouldn't want to explore, right? You would just be like, no, I'm just going to stay close to what I know.
Right.
So I guess it's just natural a little bit.
And I genuinely think that like people are so weird and fascinating. I've always felt like a weird individual myself. And the way that just everyone is brought up with their different values, the different headspaces that they use to move through the world, the different perspectives, like everyone is so weird to me. And I find that fascinating. And so I end up asking a lot of questions, and that makes me look like something of an extrovert, I guess, because I just want to pick people's brain. I think everyone's kind of interesting in how they're nothing like me.
Do you consider yourself an extrovert or an introvert?
I don't. I consider myself an ambivert. That's a word, right? That's kind of like...
If it is, you're blowing my mind right now. Ambivert, you said?
An ambivert. It's something of a mixture of the two. Sometimes I do need to recharge and be introverted, and I get socially anxious. Like when I don't want to socialize, I do not want to socialize. Like I will have an attitude. I will be quiet. I will not give you answers that I feel like are like regular responses. Like I just don't want, I will shut myself away. But when I want to partake, when I want to contribute in a social environment, I will absolutely partake. I don't know. It's very strange. I can be like one or the other person, just depending on the day.
I didn't even know there was, I'm looking at it now. I thought it was one or the other. I didn't know there was, I mean, I guess it makes sense to be in the middle, but interesting. Yeah. I've always looked at myself as definitely more of like an extrovert. Like I'm just kind of a loud, in your face kind of person. So I think most people will probably also think I'm like an extrovert.
Yeah, you've always been a very confident, like, you're not afraid to say like exactly what's on your mind, exactly the way it is. I feel like there's no like editing when it comes to
there is editing, but I definitely am. I don't like hiding how I'm feeling about something. Like obviously in life you have to sometimes, but I think it's important. Like, okay, so when I used to work in retail, I was not very good at it because I was on the cash register a lot, but if people are being dumb, I'm not a fan of them not knowing that they're being dumb. Like I want them to know that they're being stupid without being like you being stupid. So I do things to make them realize how dumb they're being. And I don't know why that is. It's just like, I need you to know so you don't do this in the future. Like I think I told my friend that once and he's like, oh, so you're being an asshole to help them. I'm like, yes, you finally understand what I'm doing. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's good to say how you feel most of the time, you know, like not like you can, you know, sugarcoat some things here and there, but it's good to just say how you feel about things, you know, like by not saying how you feel, it's just, I don't know. You just,
you know, I didn't do very well in retail either because I was kind of the same way. I was just very like, I'm not a salesperson because I don't care if you buy it or not. And if that person looks like they don't want the pants because they said they don't have the money for it, they probably don't have the money for it. Right. So it doesn't make sense that I'm going to keep pushing the pants on them. when they just told me they don't have the money for it.
That's
and then
so
like the
funny.
managers would look at me like, wow, that is all not the point.
It's funny too, because like that's the opposite of me, that I'm actually a really good salesman. Like I wouldn't force someone to buy something that they couldn't. If they like, oh, I can't really afford it, then I'd probably back off. But outside of that, I'm actually a really good salesman. I don't know why that is, but like people have told me all my life, like, oh, you're a great salesman. Like not even, but even before I got like jobs, like I was good at selling shit when I was in high school, and I could sell bullshit, you know, I could sell fucking TV. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know where I get my confidence from. It's almost like, I guess I am just confident in the abilities I have. Like, I don't think I'm like an overly smart person, but I think I'm smart enough that I know if I'm surrounded by people who are smarter or dumber than me. And so I know I am confident that I can be, you know, I'm not going to make myself look like an idiot.
There's like an emotional intelligence behind it.
Yeah. You know, and I don't know. I've never considered myself that smart, but I realize there are so many dumb people in the world that maybe I am like upper echelon just because everyone,
you know, dumb people are
so
confident too.
Yeah, that's true. I guess it depends on what you're confident about. You could be like really good looking, but be dumb, but you're just confident because you're like, well, I'm really good looking.
Yeah.
You know, that's not, I don't get I don't know why I'm so confident, you know, like I don't really understand. People have said this. I've had women who like, after we like, or to kind of like became a thing or whatever, we're like, oh, I was almost like intimidated by you a little bit. You're just like so confident. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, really? I was like, I don't want to be like intimidating. And they're like, oh, you just have like this big confidence about you. Like you knew exactly what was going to happen and everything. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I don't know. You know, like I didn't really think about it. Like I was just trying to be me. So.
Oh, wow. Well, you got a very bright confidence about you. You know what you want, you go for it. And like people see that and they respond to it.
Yeah,
is that something that's like a family trait maybe?
Not really. I don't think so. I don't know that my family is especially confident necessarily. I don't know what happened. I think I remember, so I speak too fast a lot. It's something that I try to get better at. Like literally I have to think about as I live my life. But that initially came from like, because my parents, there's 4 kids in my family. So there's 6 people in the family. It was sometimes hard to like get to speak. And when you had the opportunity to speak, like people would cut you off a lot. So I felt like I had to talk really fast, you know? So I don't know if like,
it's true. You try to get like your thought out in completion before you know that the next person is going to say something.
Right. And I was like I was the youngest for a bit. And then my parents had one more kid, but like I was down the bottom tier, you know? And so it's like, you had to just say it like while you had the moment to say it, or else you know, people didn't care. So I feel like because and even like with friends, I often felt like, not that I was like a doormat, but they would like, I was like the kid. I was always going to be the shortest and the like people would just look at me like this nerd. And I didn't like that people did that. So I always tried to like, I think after a while I started like pushing against that so much that I just developed the confidence of like, I'm not just this nerd, even though I look like a nerd, like, you know, whatever.
Yeah. No. Is that have you gotten that? Or is that like a self-projected thought?
What, the nerd thing?
Yeah.
Well, definitely in school, like, you know how it is, like when you're in like elementary, middle school, like you fit whatever you look like, right? Like I had glasses and therefore I wasn't especially tall or anything. So I was a nerd, you know, and that was the thing I realized like I remember like in 3rd grade, like talking to like the cooler kids and they kind of realized I was cool too, you know? And I was like, I'm not the nerd I look like. I'm actually like more like a quote unquote cool kid at a time. Right. And, but that's something I've had to deal with. Like I had to deal with all in school. Like I looked like a nerd, but like I'm more of just like a normal kid, if that makes any sense.
No, it does. I went through the opposite of that, where like I have been told that I am like a conventionally like pretty or cute or whatever. And I kind of look like, I look very girly in a lot of senses, but then like when you get to know me, I'm actually very nerdy and such a dork.
That's true, actually. I guess really. No, you are definitely nerdy. I mean, I do remember your Thorner from your room, which is always one of my favorite things about you.
The Thorner. Oh man.
Do you guys? Are you not doing that anymore? Because you got
I donated a lot of my toys, my Thor toys.
So for those of you who don't know, Jerii had a little corner of her room with all Thor stuff coming out of it. So she nicknamed it her Thorner.
I loved Thor. Yeah, Thor was cool. Thank you very much.
Before or after Chris Hemsworth?
Before Chris Hemsworth. I have a lot of the Thor God of Thunder comic books, and I had like the whole story. I have the real stories of like Thor Ragnarok, and I was very excited for it to come out on film. They kind of botched that story for me, but it's okay.
You like Chris Hemsworth? I mean, he's hot.
He is. No, I thought he was really, really good casting as far as someone that acts very like, you can tell he is a god amongst humans. Like he does a very good job at showing that.
Yeah, he's like slightly pompous, like just he's in charge type thing.
Right. He has like this like very formal demeanor about him.
They did a good job when they finally, like, especially obviously with Ragnarok, realizing like the fish out of water thing, which he often was very funny. Just lean into that. That's why like they're making the fourth one, Love and Thunder or whatever it's called.
I know, I'm excited. It's gonna be dope. And I've been watching Loki. It's been really great.
I need to watch that. Now that it's all out, I'm gonna probably watch it. But that's the thing. I think they realized like the first Thor was, I think, pretty good. The second one was like kind of bland. And they finally, I think, hit the stride. The third one, they were like, well, we can't stop now. So they're like, let's just make another one.
Yeah, no, and they're really finding like they brought a lot of like comedy to like the fish out of water character for him, and it's going really well. I can't.
And what's the dude's name? Wakiki. I don't know how to say his name. The director. I should know. It's like Tati Wakiti or whatever. He's like the New Zealand dude. He did Jojo Rabbit and a bunch of stuff. He's a very, very good director. Very good writer.
Nice. Awesome. Sweet.
Yeah, I guess confidence, it's hard. I don't know. If you don't have confidence, like, I don't know, is there a way something you would tell someone? Like, how do you give, like, if you had like a daughter or son and they were like in middle school or something, like, what would you tell them?
I don't know. I would say, I guess it is like about how you carry yourself and how you see things. Like confidence is like for me, it has been a lack of overthinking, like what's going on inside your head, like how you look, what people are thinking. Like those are things that I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about as like I move through the world. I just think about what I have to do and I observe a lot and I ask questions. So I guess that keeps me a little bit out of my head, and that kind of reads as confidence. One thing I've noticed that I do is I always try to crack like the formality of people in the world, because I've always thought that there's like a strange formality that we all go through when we don't know each other, when we're out in public. Like we all hold ourselves to be like this kind of person, but we all know that none of us are actually like that, and that the world is actually ridiculous and falling apart. And like, so I try to crack that in people like immediately. Like I try to get to your humanity as fast as possible, because I don't like small talk.
Right. I like that actually, though. It is true. Like you are kind of formal. Anyone's formal when you first meet somebody, but like, it's not really who they are, So interesting. Interesting.
It's like you could walk up to someone and be like, hey, how are you? How's it going? And they're going to be like, I'm fine. How are you? And then I'll just be like, no, I mean like, what was the highlight of your last 24 hours?
And diving right in. I like it.
Yeah. And then they're just like, well, and then it kind of sparks a little like something else, something more real. Cause it's like, yeah, this is how you are actually doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's good stuff. Especially like that, those kind of questions are good. Like, especially if you're like trying to flirt with somebody or you're like on a date or something, those are good questions too. It's cause it's like you said, it's not small talk. It's like, really, let's talk, so.
Yeah. And it's something that it's not too invasive, because it was just like, it's like your last 24 hours. I didn't ask like how your mother raised you, or if you have one, like,
give me a horrible childhood experience for me.
Yeah. It's not the low light of your last 24 hours. Give me the best thing that happened.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the best way to be confident is just to understand that like whoever you are listening, there's probably something pretty cool about you, even if you don't realize it, or maybe you think other people don't. There is something probably pretty awesome about you. And if you just understand that and just start wherever you meet, wherever you do, you just remember that like you are pretty awesome. Yeah. That's how you get the confidence, like, I don't know what I'm especially great at, but I know I'm good enough to read a room and read a situation and smart enough to understand those things. So I won't make an ass of myself. And then combine that with like, I don't know, I think I'm generally, I can carry a conversation, I know enough in the world not to speak that I, can be interesting enough. And I think you just, from there, you just go and you just be yourself and you don't really think about it. I think that's also part of it is it's hard, but once you develop the confidence, you don't even think about it. You're just you. Exactly. That's just part of you.
I guess there's a sense of like overthinking for anyone who moves through things, and it's just like thinking about, again, what are people thinking about me? What do I look like right now? Is there something on my nose? Did I say that right? Is this my accent? Is this how I always talk?
is this, am I doing Australian? What's happening right now? But you know, it's one of those things where like, you can't think about that stuff that much. Like you should always, I guess, be aware. Yeah. If like you have like something on your face or something, but you just don't, I think once you realize who you really are, which usually happens like in your 20s or something, you just you should develop a natural confidence with it. And then like, you don't focus on like, if I say something weird, is that awkward? Like you just don't even think about that stuff. You just do you.
Yeah. Unless of course there's like those, you know, the life events that make you kind of get into your head, you know, like job interviews or dates. Like you're obviously going to think like, oh man, should I have said that? Probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. To be honest with you, when it comes to like dates or some of those things, like I get nervous before like dates or even like job interviews, like you said, I get nervous beforehand and all that stuff. But once I'm into it, generally, I just start doing it, you know, like I'm just like, here it goes. It's like before that I get nervous. I try to just be in the moment in like those situations, because that's to be fair, especially with a date, like if the person's interested in you, it's probably because they like you. So you shouldn't go in trying to be anything other than you know? So again, it's about understanding who you really are and then running with that. And then you're confident because you know who you are.
Yeah.
Hard to do.
It is hard to do, because I can't say that I'm like, I don't know if I'm great at first dates. First dates have been kind of weird. And I've been kind of like in the dating game a little bit right now, going through some first dates and second dates. And I'm finding that not that I get nervous, but like as soon as it starts, I'm kind of wondering when it's going to be over. Like, cause I guess I'm a little bit nervous, and I feel under a magnifying glass. Right. I feel like there's that interview like pressure to be like formal. But I'm combating that, and I am like trying to like be present in the moment and be like, hey, you know, like, hey, I said I'd be here for the next couple of hours, so I'm here. Let's hang out. Let's do things.
I bet you're pretty good on first dates. A little bit.
I don't, like I said, I do get into my head, and
it's hard. It's hard not to like. It's just like anything, right? If someone's like, oh, don't think about it too much. It's like that's the hard part. Is I am thinking about it, so it's hard to be like, I just won't focus on this. It's like that's the hardest part. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's like when I go on first dates, like I'm generally, I'm a little nervous ahead of time, but then when I see the girl or whatever, I'm like, hey, and we start talking, it's good. But like I said, people say I come off super confident. It's almost like intimidating. And I'm like, well, I'm not that, like, I am confident in myself, but I'm like overly confident. Like, oh, I'm definitely going to bring this chick home. You just,
like,
it's about just being you.
You're like a pompous individual. Like, you know,
no, no one's ever said I'm pompous, fortunately. Just very confident is what I've heard, which I think is mostly good.
Which is great. I think it's great.
Yeah.
Because it's true. There's like an ease about how you deliver yourself to the world, you know?
Yeah, because I'm not, is me. I think I do a lot of self-deprecating humor, and some people say I do it maybe too much. I'm too hard on myself, but that keeps me grounded, you know, because I am aware of it's hard to talk about your own abilities, whatever they are, without being somewhat cocky about it. Because if you know, like I know I don't want to say I'm smart, but I'm smart enough, you know, and it's hard to talk about that without being somewhat cocky. But at the same time, like, that's why I remind myself all the time, whether I'm making fun of myself or just reminding myself, like, I'm not really amazing in any way. I'm just sort of me, you know? And so like, if I meet someone and they like that, whether it's through friendship or something more, you know, in a relationship, then there you go. Great. They like me for me, and they like whatever I have. And that's, you know, you're just confident, because when you're you and you find people who like you, then there's no reason you shouldn't be confident, because they like you, you know, they're not liking some goofy shit you're trying to do, or that's not you. So
I totally agree. And at the same time, I get kind of shaken up about that. People think I'm amazing, and then
everybody. She's amazing.
And I struggle with imposter syndrome. Is like let's say like someone thinks you're doing a really good job at something, then like I tend to get in my head and be like, I wonder if I really am doing a good job, or if they're just saying that I'm doing a good job.
Jerii.
Things like that. So sometimes I do get a little bit like self-conscious, and when it comes to like confidence stuff, I don't know. It's weird. It can go either way.
You know, imposter syndrome is interesting. I felt that only sometimes, like in the last year in school, like I felt that a bit, but then when I started to think about it, I was like, I did a lot of work in school. I busted my ass, and yes, I did great in school, But I guess I was like, I'm surprised I was just able to do it. Like, it wasn't easy. It's not like I floated through it. I fucking did a lot of work on those things. But I guess it was surprised that I was like, oh, I want to go back to school. And then I was like, oh, I got straight A's. And I was like, what? You know, looking back, I'm like, that's a little crazy, but I'm able to remind myself. But you want to know what I get? I don't want to say it's imposter syndrome, but like what I do when someone says, oh, you're doing a good job, and you go, are they just saying that? My biggest thing with that is actually sex, because I think I'm okay, but how do I know? What if the woman is just saying that because you're with that person?
Oh,
you know, like
well,
I think I am good and I'm good, but I don't know, and I might never know because how will I? If every woman I'm with is just nice, then there you go.
Or maybe they just all have raving reviews. And you're on fire.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe I'm great. You know, maybe I'm a fucking Adonis for all I know. It's one or the other, I guess. I don't know. It is one of those things where like, I'm like, in theory, I mean, they are coming every time, unless they're all faking it, which would blow my mind. Then I guess I am pretty good, but who the fuck knows, right?
Could be some of them were faking it, some of them weren't.
See, now you got in my head. Now I'm questioning things. I gotta send some texts, some people. I mean, do you never worry about like your performance in bed? Are you always like, no, that's...
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely worry. I worry a lot. I'm very like, was that okay? Can we just talk about, if you like to rate that, let's review this.
Out of 10.
Let's say this is like a sports play. I want you to roll back the tape and tell me where I could have improved.
That's how you know you don't watch sports. Let's watch this sports play.
Let's watch sports. Yeah, that's exactly. I'm not a sports watcher. Can you tell?
You fooled me. But you know what? Speaking of all of this, talking about sex and relationships and everything, you've actually been going through, I would say, something fairly major in your life when it comes to all of that, right? Sex, relationships.
Yeah. I'm basically going through puberty again these days.
Gary's going through puberty at the age of whatever age you are at this point, 26, 22, 30.
Age range 22
somewhere
to 30.
Between on your headshot. What does your age range say? 20 to 39.
It says 17 to 28.
17. You know, you probably could pull off 17.
You know why? It's because I read incredibly young on camera. It's weird. Like if you see like film of me, I look like a 12-year-old. It's crazy.
I mean, it's not. Hey, listen, the more range, the better, right? It's not like it's a bad thing.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm not knocking it. I still have some teenage roles left in me. If
they bring Twilight back, there you go.
I hope not. To be fair, I'm not pale enough. That's fine. They can change that. They did finally make. She released another Twilight book, so there you go. Oh wow, really?
Well, so both the Hunger Games and Twilight both released new books. The Twilight one was something she was working on literally like 2008 or something, and she canceled it and I guess brought it back. Where it's the same. It's the first book, but from Edward's point of view.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then the Hunger Games made a prequel that I think was like the first Hunger Games ever, so like 75 years or whatever before the other books. Both of them apparently were not very highly reviewed. So I don't know. That's what I saw. I don't know how true that is. That's just the reviews I saw.
I was a little bit more excited about the Hunger Games one. I did read those books.
I think I have some of those books in this room since this used to be your room.
I think I remember when you were reading that actually.
It was a while ago. Yeah, they're listen, the original trilogy was a good trilogy. Oh, the third book sucked, but it was still good. It was still enjoyable.
It was incrally sad, but it was good.
I hated that third book.
It was so sad. It just made me really sad.
I just didn't like it. It felt like she didn't know what to do with the story, and she was like, I don't know, let's just kill people, and it's just like rambling.
Yeah.
The first two books were great. But anyway, enough of that. But yes, you are currently going through something obviously quite profound.
Yes. Well, I mean, is it profound?
I mean, you're like I said, you're. I think most people maybe think about this a little earlier in life. You're not that you're an old woman or anything, but
true.
To be in your late 20s.
Yeah. So I'm a latecomer in the lesbian game in the sense of exclusively dating women. I have.
Right, you've been bi for.
Yeah, I've kind of always been bi, pretty much my entire life, or pansexual, if you will.
Whatever the new word is, I keep forgetting all these things.
Well, I use the term pansexual in the sense that I really always did have an emphasis on like my connection with people, regardless of how they look, what their gender is, and it was always about like personality.
That's true. I've seen some of them, Jerii. It's no, there have been times where like someone walks by and you're like, God, that guy was hot. And I was like, that fucking guy. But what do I know? I'm a straight guy. But
That's how you know it was all an illusion, baby. I was just saying
you weren't really into them. You weren't into them ever. It was all just bullshit.
I do
so
think about that.
So yeah, basically you're coming to terms with like you as far as I know, are you saying, yeah, you're no longer really into men, you've changed teams and you're exclusively now like you're a lesbian?
Yeah, pretty much. I am exclusively only receiving female applications at this time. No male applicants will be looked at.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate you sending in the resume, but I'm going in a different direction. Which I will say it is I would imagine this is a scary time for you because I don't know if we said this on the podcast. I was talking to Terrance about this randomly. I was like, if I randomly right now was like, am I gay? And I started to really think about it, that would like scare me. Like my whole life I've been one way and now suddenly I'm not. Like that'd be just a scare. And then you have to, like I said, to come out and then there's like people who knew you one way, that it's something different. So I'm like, it's a really crazy time.
Oh yeah, it's a whole mind fuck. Or am I allowed to say mind fuck?
You can say whatever the hell you want. It's
awesome. It is very
curse. I just talked about making women come. I mean, you can talk about whatever you want.
Oh, that's true. You did do that. That's fine.
We have the explicit tag on this podcast. Don't worry, it's there.
Oh, solid, mature, only an A17,
which you can play.
Right, if I did. So with that, it does feel like going through puberty again. It takes you back to every single like moment in your past or every relationship before and just being like, oh, is that why that didn't work? Oh, that must have been why that didn't work. Oh, that explains everything about that relationship.
Yeah,
I
didn't think about
that. It's
that.
freakishly connecting a lot of dots as to why I guess I had certain like emotional walls up or physical walls up at certain times that I chose to have them up. If you like plug in the gay factor, all of a sudden it all connects.
You know, that is actually really interesting though. Like when you it's almost like you're seeing the code, right? You're like fucking Neo in the Matrix. You're like, it all makes sense now, right? Like,
yeah. It's like you're constantly looking for the right job in the wrong department. It's never gonna happen. And you're just like you're wondering like, why can't I make this work? It's like you're in the wrong department.
You were trying to buy a dog, what you really wanted was a cat.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is.
And then when you
is there a
cat and that made all the sense.
Is there a connection to the fact that you have cats and you don't like dogs? Is there anything related to that?
There's a huge stereotype about lesbian and cats, so there probably is something there.
You're like, don't tell anyone, but yes.
Don't tell anyone, but like I said, with me, it oddly all makes sense.
To be fair, Yoda is just very much like your cat. He's just like kind of an asshole, but you kind of love him at the same time. You know? So
he's cute enough to get away with it.
Yeah, especially when you put him in little sweaters and shit.
Exactly. It's too hot for sweaters right now, but I can't wait until it gets colder.
It gets cold enough in LA. Yeah, you'll be fine.
Yeah, it definitely does. I'm glad that I get to take advantage of some fall weather out here because I still have jackets.
Still have these fucking jackets. But yeah, how is that? How is, I guess, like exploring that and you've been dating women now and it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've dated short term with women. I haven't really dated anyone long term. So yeah, right now I'm just kind of like dating around and putting myself in like a queer headspace, just being like in a community of like other LGBTQ women and men as well.
LGBTQI plus.
IA plus.
Too many. We talked about this. Too many.
Yeah. they're all included for me, and it's been absolutely wonderful just kind of like living within that space and feeling just more connected to it, just in like a communal sense. Yeah, it's been a lot of.
And it was just Pride, so it's probably a good time to be figuring all that out. No.
Yeah, it's also a great time. Also, West Hollywood is a great place to hang out for anyone of the LGBTQ community. It's like the gay motherland out here. It's so much fun.
Nice.
So it's just it's an open environment. I've been going on like first dates, just kind of trying to figure out. It feels like puberty again. I'm trying to figure out butterflies.
Yeah, teenager
out connections with people and first dates, and who pays and what are we gonna do on our second? Do you want to go on a second date? Do you like this? I don't know.
Who goes? Do you go for the kiss? Does it matter? Does she sometimes? It's who knows?
Is it too soon? Should I ask?
To be fair, there is like a different there's not code, but there is like different verbiage with like if you are gay. Like I remember my friends was gay, is a guy. There's like all sorts of different things that they say or do that like is only amongst gay guys. And I was like, I don't know any of this shit, you know. And he was telling me, so like it is like almost you have to learn some like the new stuff or like the protocol even.
Yeah. I can't say I'm super well known on protocol, on like the norms. I just feel like I am going to offer to pay every time because just polite, just to be polite. Yeah. And if there's not like, and I'm not going to, you know, I'm not like a one night stand kind of person. I'm not looking for that right now. So, you know, I'm just kind of going with the flow, just getting to know people. I'm also new in town. So
everything's new this for you.
Everything is so new. So I'm trying to meet like friends within the community, but also kind of dating. But like, if there's a vibe, then we'll continue. But if not, I have another friend. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and it is a weird thing also about being an adult is like making new friends. So that is a good way almost to do it. Like just put yourself in this community and then see what happens, right? Maybe make friends, you make girlfriends, whatever. So let me ask you a question. How have you been the person to give like a first kiss yet? Have you been like, I'm going to initiate this?
Yes, I have.
Were you nervous? Were you like, oh, here we go, I'm going in for it? Or you were just like, nah, fuck it, I'm just in the moment?
I am not a nervous kisser, I would say. I would say that I'm usually kind of a kiss initiator in men and female relationships. I've been that person plenty of times.
So no one ever has to be like, are we kissing or what? You're just like, I'm going to be the one to do it.
I can't say I've been asked too many times. I think like guys will either just do it, and some women have asked. Some women have asked.
Like, can I kiss
Very
you?
few. Yeah. Like, or they'll just be like, I just want to kiss you so bad right now.
I've never actually asked a person that. I guess you just kind of feel the moment, but.
No, I have now. I have in the recent times.
Maybe it's a lesbian thing. See what I'm saying?
Is that a lesbian thing?
I don't know. You have to tell me.
I don't know. I don't have a new one.
This is what I'm saying. Because for people who are straight, it's like, I don't know. Generally, the guy is quote unquote supposed to do it or whatever. But I don't know if it's two lesbians. I don't know. Maybe it's just confusing.
It's either it's you have to go with the flow, right? You have to go with the vibe. And
I've never had a girl kiss me first. Now that I think about it, have I? No.
Have you?
No, I never had a woman kiss me first. You know what I realized? In any situation like this, where like there's two people, you're on a date and you're doing whatever, there's always a moment where you're supposed, like the kiss is supposed to happen. And if you don't take that opportunity, it's over at that point. Maybe the next day or something, but you can't maybe miss it and then like 5 minutes later come back for it. Doesn't work. You have to do it in that moment.
Yeah. Is that usually at the end of the date?
Yeah, at the end of the date, it's classic time for a kiss, no?
Right? Yeah, that's the time.
I've done several kisses. Like, all right, well, I'll talk to you later. And unfortunately, it's like the subway because it's New York City. I'm like, well, you're standing a bunch like a million. I'm like, well, and then you kind of just, I don't know, you're going for it. It's hard to like, I guess to know who's supposed to do it, but then, I don't know. I feel like asking. I guess I don't know if you're supposed to ask. I don't know. The first kiss is the hardest part, I think, because once you make that kiss, you're both into each other officially, and then you're like, all right, cool. And then everything else from there to me is super easy. Yeah, exactly. After that, it's like, oh, cool. Yeah, because
second dates are still kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah, and see, not for me though. Like for me, if we've kissed, I'm like, well, I'm in. Like she likes me, and we're going out again. So and then I'm not saying it's like we're gonna bang that night, but it's like we're officially like both on the same page. So let's see where this goes. It doesn't necessarily mean something's gonna happen, but at that point, damn, my confidence is sky high. I'm like, well, just fucking do whatever we do.
I guess I'm not sure. You know what I've noticed in dating right now, in the early stages of dating, I still don't know what other people want.
Yeah. I mean,
it takes like a couple of dates to really like iron that out.
But you don't
Everyone
think like
is like going with the flow in the beginning. I could tell that she was into me, but as far as like what she wants from like what she was saying throughout the date, I think she might want something like incredibly serious, like looking into like a long-term situation.
You mean like that, right.
Like she was very like, I'm 33, I'm trying to start a family.
I mean,
oh wait,
pretty clear, I guess, what you want.
I don't know if she was, but she said that like in passing in a conversation, not in like a direct answer, like what do you want out of this?
Well, still, if she's saying that though, I don't, unless she's looking for a fling, but it doesn't, I mean, if she directly said that, I would say she's probably is looking for like a more serious.
Yeah. So
which I don't know if you're in that position considering
right now.
You just figured out. Damn.
I'm still exploring some things.
At least you didn't get like a month or two in and you found that out, because I'm like, well, damn.
Yeah. She also seemed a little bit like startled with how recently I quit the men thing. Some lesbians do not like when you do it with men. They don't like that.
No, they don't.
Do not accept. They're like dirty goods.
They're weird.
Like, how long ago did you drop them?
Yo, there are weird double standards. Like there are like straight women who would never be with a guy if a guy's messed around with another guy. Like, I've met a bunch of them who were like, nope, fuck that. And I was always like, I don't
know why. There's a lot of women like that out there.
Yeah, they're weird. It's a lot of weird. Like, I don't know if it's like double standard, but it's like, why do you really care who they've been with? You know, like, what is it? Especially with the sex. Like, what does that matter? Like, I don't know if you two are talking.
It's traces of this like societal conditioning homophobia, because it's like the world has taught you to be like homophobic. Therefore, you shouldn't want a guy that's anything close to gay. Like,
what about this woman though? Like, she doesn't want you to. It's reverse. She doesn't want you to recently job guys.
She is reverse oppressing.
It's I'm saying it's like
bi people. Yeah.
I was watching an episode of like Modern Family, and they're talking about like, I don't know if you've watched the show, but you know, one of the main characters like are a gay couple, two guys, and they were like a lot of people have this common misconception that gay guys and gay women can be friends. They're like, it's not true. We have nothing in common. They're like a gay man and women can talk about the guys they like. Gay men and straight men can talk about things that guys like. Gay men and gay women, there's nothing in common. So I don't know. It is weird. Like, it is weird. Like, I don't know why. I wouldn't care. If a woman I've been with has been with either. I mean, I've been with a lot of women who've been with either. So
I've personally dated
most
men
women have been with
that were
some women.
Yeah. I've dated a couple of like bi men or bi-curious men or pansexual men, and honestly, they've been fine. They have less traces of toxic masculinity than any of the other men that I've dated. Right. So that kind of actually worked for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Then at one point, I was like, I don't want to date a guy that isn't at least bi. I don't need that. I don't need all that straight nonsense.
Fuck that shit. The toxic masculinity thing is bad. I think I try everything in my power to not be like that. You know, like not that I am in any capacity, but like that's the opposite.
I've never seen any toxic masculinity coming from you at all, not even the slightest. Which
I appreciate. That's like a compliment. But it is unfortunate that there's so many guys like that. I mean, obviously we don't have time to go down that fucking rabbit hole, but so being your newfound lesbianness has been going well then.
It's been going well. Yeah, like I said, I'm not looking to start a family anytime soon. I have a cat, and I think
that's
the paperwork has been processed just fine. Just enjoying newfound, like taking up newfound gay space has been like reaffirming on its own, which is strange enough. Yeah.
Right.
Also, I've seen something where a woman had suggested, I saw it on TikTok. It's fine. I saw it on TikTok.
I mean, whatever, somewhere you saw it.
Yeah. This woman was like, if you really like are questioning this, then like, just don't like literally do not talk to men anymore. Like if you can help it. And
like me too. Like you can't talk to me anymore.
No, like, I mean, like in an interested like sense, like no more entertaining the flirting thing or like none of that. Not even
when you talked to me about this a few weeks ago, you were going through this. I think I said something similar. I was like, you should just stay away from guys and see what happens. You know?
Yeah. And it's only working out. It only gets better. It's like I literally have stopped making eye contact with men. Like I'm not even meeting their eyes anymore.
Men are like homeless people. Like, you know, if you make eye contact, they're going to see a connection. So just don't even do that.
Literally. So I'm like not even meeting their eyes anymore. And it's it's been going well. I have to say, I have
Yes.
not been suffering.
No, like that's why I said, like, with the way you were making it seem like about a month ago, you were like, I'm like, you don't sound like, I'm like, it sounds like, yeah, you're definitely going like the lesbian. That's what that sounds like what you're doing. And I was like, I think, yeah, it's explore. And so, I mean, you keep doing what you're doing. And if you never think about like guys again, and I guess you probably got your answer, you know, like,
You know, and then it's like, and if I do meet a man that ends up being like the love of my life and I want to make it work,
There you
then
go.
that's going to be okay too.
yeah, that's the thing. You might never actually get, there might never be a definitive answer, you know, maybe you're mostly for women, but yeah, maybe you meet the occasional guy. Like it's almost doesn't
Yeah,
mean,
maybe I've just
might not need
been
an
like
answer.
shifting all over the spectrum.
Yeah, and nothing wrong with that, right? Like, we want to put labels on things, and there are uses of labels in the world, but at the same time, like maybe you don't like. I don't know if there is a label. I'm sure there is something for that. But yeah, maybe you're primarily into women, but occasionally with guys. Like that's just Jerii.
Yeah, and I mean, for the most part, that's been the exact opposite so far in my life. So it's like,
Right.
why not try this one? Because the other side wasn't working. I was dating mostly men with like just like a sprinkle of women here and there.
Right.
And I just couldn't find any. There was always something coming up with the connections. There was always, and I remember just always feeling really broken about losing the friendship aspect of my relationships with men, and not necessarily the physical part.
That's
just really broken about losing a friend. Like
that is the hard part about like any breakup, right? Like I remember growing up, people were like, "Oh, like my boyfriend's my best friend," or this and that. And I thought that was stupid.
Right.
But then when you become like, you start going into like long-term relationships, like especially when you become an adult, you're like, that shit's true. Like they are your best friend because you tell them fucking everything. You talk to them every day and tell them everything. And so it does suck to lose like the friendship in addition to the relationship. Well, I guess not so much for you, but you know.
Yeah. I've even gone back to relationships to try to make them work. And then, cause like, I'll miss them emotionally. And I'll be like, you know what, maybe I do want to make this to work out. And then we get back together and then we get back to physical intimacy and I get back to being bored. And I'm just like, oh, that's right. This isn't working for me. Damn. And then I have that mental struggle of like, but I like them, but for some reason I can't make it work. And I'm like, I'm trying to figure out why.
You just want friendship. That's what it is. You just want to be friends.
Like,
that's literally what it is.
Because I just wanted to be friends. And I've been guilt tripped into straight relationships because men are always like, this is so real, Jerii. Like you are running from how real this is.
So good. You just don't realize it. Well,
yeah, it's like what we have is a real connection. That's what it is. And I'm like, are you sure? Because I feel like I'm not.
I feel that way.
And they're like, you're definitely there. I can tell.
I can't remember how this got brought up. Someone was saying something. And I was like, I was like, I like this person, but I'm not like attracted to them. And they're like, well, you should just give it a try. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. If you really like someone and you're not attracted to them, that's called a friendship. That's the biggest difference between a friendship and a relationship is an attraction level. If you're not attracted to somebody and you can't help who you're attracted to, that's the end of the story. They're friends.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry.
That's literally, and I have gotten that in a couple of like different like ways where people are just like, have you just not like tried enough to make these relationships with men work? And I'm just like, what? Yes, I tried.
Yeah, I've been friends with you long enough to have seen you go through several relationships. You seem like you're trying.
I have put my best trying foot forward. Thank you very much. But at a certain point, you do have to find like, you have to figure out why it's not working out for you. So
like I said, I'm happy that you're exploring this, and hopefully you find happiness from it. I mean, so far you said you're enjoying it, so hopefully that's what happens.
Thank you.
Obviously, we'll have you back on the show. Well, I mean, Terrance is dead, so maybe you'll be the new host.
He's not dead.
I'm kidding, Terrance. I love you, Terrance. I know you're listening to this at some point. I love you, bro. Anyway, Jerii, let's wrap this up. Of course, we always, you've listened to the show. We end every show with a hypothetical question, of course.
Of course. Let's have this.
So, okay, I was listening to the podcast and this something happened to this guy. And I was like, I wonder, do you think if someone hired like a PI to like follow you around for a week for whatever reason, do you think you'd be notice? Or do you think you'd pick that out and be like, is this fucking guy following me? Or do you think you'd just be oblivious?
I think I could pick him out.
Really?
Yeah, but I am used to the the cat call paranoia that was living in New York City. So I have a keen eye on people that have eyes on me for too long.
Okay. So you think
I'd like to think, like obviously I'm not Jason Bourne, so I It could be happening right now, and I'm just sitting here like, yeah, I could totally tell.
Someone's literally watching you as we speak.
Yeah.
It is an interesting question. Like, I don't know that I would. Like, I'm aware of my surroundings and everything. Like, I am, but at the same time, if there was someone like, you know, PIs are trained to like not be seen. So I feel like if someone was far enough away where they were like, you know, like on the other block, or they're like, you know, watching me or something, I don't know. That worries me. Like, I don't like that idea. Obviously, no one likes that idea, but
there's that whole thing of like being like 1 or 2 cars behind to like
2 cars behind, one to the left.
I would see that. I would not notice. I would not notice the car, 2 cars, and then 1 to the left tailing me.
Now you know. Yes, that's also the thing. Like I can pick up on like patterns. So if I saw a guy and I saw him again, I would question that. Or if I saw the same car, maybe. Well, actually, I don't know what the car thing. Like in New York City, dude, I don't even notice cars. Like they don't exist. They stop. Yeah. They stop when the light turns red, and that's all I know. They're just big blobs.
True. You really don't notice the cars at all living in New York.
I couldn't tell you a single car, like what it looks like, or anything. They're literally just like. Cars are big shapes that are in the way. They're either in your way when you're trying to cross the street, or they're car shapes moving towards you. But I don't really look at them. Like when I lived in Florida and you were in cars all in and out, like that was different. But now they're just shapes.
Yeah, now I'm looking inside cars. I'm trying to meet people's eyes and being like, do you not know how to use a turning signal?
Yeah. And, yelling at them, berating them. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I'm like looking for their eyes to meet them so I can show them how
you're like, please fucking look at me. I didn't think a joke about that. Like, you need to meet my eyes so I can really let you know how fucked up you are.
Pretty much. Today I saw someone on the road flipping someone else off, and I thought it was hilarious because I caught it so well.
You're like, oh, this is gonna be good. I'm not the one. You know what's crazy? Yeah. I'm 30 years old and I've never had a license or owned a car. I had my permit. I had my permit when I was in Florida, but that was briefly.
Oh wow! So you just didn't get the license? It expired?
Well, yeah, the permit. I mean, I just got an ID when I lived here a few years in, and so that was it. I mean, I've driven obviously before, but I haven't driven a car in 12 years probably.
Yeah. So. Oh wow. So, do you have any idea how to drive at this point?
I'm sure I can maybe pick a bike. Like if me and you were somewhere and you were injured and I needed to drive you to safety, I'm sure I could figure it out, but I wouldn't necessarily trust myself to follow the rules of the road and everything.
Yeah. You know what? That's what gets tricky is the different rules of the road, and learning that out here in LA has been kind of difficult for me.
One thing I definitely don't know is how to parallel park. I never learned how to do that.
Oh yeah, I had to learn how to do that out here. I can do that now.
Nice. Yeah, it is. It depends on where you live, but they only test for it in places where it's used. So if you in Florida, they don't fucking test for that shit.
They did not. No, they did not test for it.
You're not parallel parking in Florida. Anyway, Jerii, but if anyone wants to follow us, of course, they can follow us on Instagram at Need I Say More Pod. Follow us on Twitter at Need I Say More Pod. And you can email us needisaymorepod@gmail.com. That's how that works.
Send the questions.
No one's ever emailed us, so
we should. That's because we need a question dating game. You guys are gonna make that. It's gonna be great.
A dating game. We could do that. I literally said on an episode, 10 episodes ago at this point, I said if someone writes in to this episode and the next episode, I will Venmo you or PayPal you. I know you want $50 just for writing in, and that still didn't work. At this point, it's just a running joke.
That's funny. That's pretty funny. You should offer more and more money.
Yeah. Next week, I'll be like $2,000 to anyone who emails.
Thanks for listening. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that. Need I say more?